waste is all about privilege. In fact, it is the conceit of a rapacious society that doesn't think it has to look at the destruction it leaves behind as its members advance locust-like across the landscape, consuming everything in their path. So-called Western civilization, which is really Middle Eastern European in origin, built on failed civilizations that inevitably collapsed, turned their homes into deserts and wastelands, an early form of the insidious psychology of waste, and moved on to conquer virgin territories, oblivious to the fact that these new worlds, for them, had long since been occupied and not deflowered, but endlessly reflowered by their own inhabitants, more or less successfully sustainable economies. And that is phenomenologically tied to a misapplication of the second law of thermodynamics, the law of entropy, which says that, quote, the entropy, or state of disorder, of any isolated system always increases. Isolated systems spontaneously evolve towards thermal equilibrium, the state of maximum entropy of the system. More simply put, the entropy of the universe, the ultimate isolated system, only increases and never decreases, end quote. Now, the captains of colonialism and industrialism like to suggest that their economic systems were somehow natural, and by so doing cajoled the populace into believing that their social Darwinist and eugenicist interpretation of natural law allowed for the suffering, the immiseration, and extinction of the losers in the struggle for the survival of the fittest. And when they weren't able to convince people about the biological basis, they turned to poorly conceived ideas from physics. With this mindset, the isolated systems that they created in their new nation states could only increase their own order by decreasing the overall order of the systems they brought within them. The mentality created a concept called waste, which I define very simply as the right thing in the wrong place at the wrong time or in the wrong concentration. Let me state that again. For the purpose of this class and our discussions, we define waste as the right thing in the wrong place at the wrong time or in the wrong concentration. For those who don't look back, there is no conscious awareness of the place or concentration or timing of the release of our consumption or production residuals, and so there's no way to truly appreciate their value. Because our activities, or those of the industrial producer and the domestic consumer, have used energy to disorder materials in a way that makes them less available to us and our immediate concerns, we are told that we have increased the entropy of the system and that somehow natural law makes their losses inevitable. Once we've classified them as waste materials whose entropy precludes their recycling based on our perverse application of shallow economic principles, no effort is made to recover them. But this is a purely human construct. It has nothing to do with nature. The fact that systems tend to run down or degrade naturally, going from higher states of order to lower states of order, doesn't apply to open systems that receive energy from outside. As we will cover more in depth in the zero waste physics modules in this course, the Earth is considered a local negentropic system by biologists because the sun bathes us in terawatts of useful photonic and other electromagnetic energy, while the center of the Earth exudes a constant source of heat and material. Life forms evolved to exploit and manage these influxes of energy from above and below, and to make use of all their derivatives so that over time, life was able to become more and more complex, not less. This is negative entropy, or neg-entropy, and it occurs because nature, unlike modern hegemonic humans, knows no waste. Here's what Georgescu Rogan tells us is the phenomenological gist of the entropy law as it relates to waste and sustainability in your readings. Quote, the road to understanding what entropy is begins with the primary distinction between available and unavailable energy. This distinction is unmistakably anthropomorphic, more so than any other concept in the natural sciences. Indeed, he says, energy is available or unavailable according to whether or not we humans can use it for our own purposes, end quote.